What did you make of what Rishi Sunak had to say today?
Speed is of the absolute most important thing, really. It's been 20 years for me and a very difficult journey. Obviously, for the criminalised people, I feel for them, really, because we've got this sweeping exoneration that's going to happen, a change of law. But there's this caveat at the end that the Minister, Hollinrich, spoke about, which worries me specifically, because if you were to say, we're going to get rid of all the convictions, but we're going to get you to sign a document to say that you're saying you're not guilty, I think people will be sceptical about the guilt of people, and I would hate to be one of the people where there's always that cloud, that little bit of darkness in the distance, that people still think that you were only exonerated because it was easier or quicker or whatever. The second part of that, the £75,000, which is a significant amount of money and will make a difference to all of our lives in the GLO, it's just another sticking plaster. That's the only thing. I wish we could just get some thrust to get through all this. We've got this very combative, difficult, complicated compensation scheme going on that we've kind of been left behind as a group. We're looking at somewhere between 7 and 11 people that have completed the whole journey in over 18 months now that the scheme's been trying to push along. And I just worry that we're putting these sticking plasters on and not really getting right through it and forcing it forward.
I mean, but do you think that this move could help speed things up for everybody involved?
Well, I think it's done for that reason. I think there's, obviously a lot of clarity in there, a lot of thought that's gone into there that they're honestly trying to move things forward in a good way. And I accept that, and I think that's great. I just don't like the caveats. I don't like I don't know whether I will fall into any of the brackets for the £75,000 interim payment. And I'm not sure what those sort of things are, but generally throughout this process, we've always met some kind of issue, and the trust issue for me at the moment is that maybe what's headlined isn't actually what's underneath, which makes things quite difficult to take, really.
What about this point that a blanket piece of legislation like this will mean that there will be some people who are guilty and who will get exonerated and compensation, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, if I showed you a room with 100 people in there and I said to you that 2 of them were guilty, but they'd all signed forms to say they weren't, it's not fair on the 98, is it, really? You've instantly made 100 people guilty again, and I find that difficult to take. I think exoneration needs to come individually and personally, because the courts individually and personally prosecuted these people. They were named and shamed in the papers. They were, they'd been dragged through the most awful miscarriage of justice throughout the years. And now a clean sweep of exoneration with this little horrible dark caveat at the end, maybe not the right thing. I don't know, but it concerns me deeply, really does.
And this time frame that the government is saying that all convictions will be quashed by the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I was assured today by an eminent KC that there is a mechanism in place that could have done this through the judiciary without having to have a new law passed. That if it wanted to be an individual process, and if it wanted to be through the CCRC, it was only a matter of numbers of people being pushed through there. And he was absolutely adamant that it was feasible and possible to do in the right way. I'm not saying this is the wrong way. It just seems as though we've waited a long time of having to really fight our corner. Some of the victims are really traumatized. We have lots of things going on in our families and all of the other things that go along in a normal life. And now we're into a situation where potentially this exoneration, and however that's dealt with, is another step, another place you have to go, another maybe form or argument you have to have. And, everyone gets tired of arguing.
Yeah, I'm sure. Do you have faith in the system, in the current system, I should say? I mean, it changes all the time. The current system of compensation to deliver for you. Do you have faith in that?
Not really. I'm really concerned because if you think if you were to commit a crime or do something terribly wrong, it would be very unusual for you to decide what compensation you were going to give to the person that you committed the crime to. But in actual fact, we have that case here where post office are still leading the line with all this, leading the combative, difficult, complex, multi-level compensation schemes. They're still leading that, and I find that really difficult to take. And I haven't actually entered the compensation scheme fully yet myself because of that, and because of the trauma this has all caused me and my family. I find it very difficult to engage. I'm going to engage, but I just feel as though there's a lot of things that need changing.
Yeah, and just finally, you talk about what you've been through. On this process goes, but things do seem, this TV drama clearly has made a huge difference. But just give us a sense of, what it's been like going through this.
If you were to hold a huge handful of dry sand in both your hands, and as the wind blows, you watch those particles slowly disintegrate from between your fingers. Welcome to my life. That's how it's been.